And welcome once again to the Movie Stuff Show. Was it Thursday edition?
Thursday edition.
Wednesday edition? Thursday edition. My name is Dan, and this is Marty, and Jamil. Jamil, I think you kicking people off the internet might have helped.
Really?
No.
Okay,
I was optimistic.
sorry.
I was optimistic for a little bit.
But you can't hear me though, right?
No, we can.
Yeah, we got you.
Yeah, you're fine. You're fine.
We'll just try to react delayed to you if we can.
Yeah. No, I think it's getting better. I think. Listen.
Yeah,
if we recovered from last week's episode, then I mean
we've gone full upside down and mute to air, so we can get through that.
If we get through that, I mean, I listen. I'm not even gonna lie. I almost quit doing shows
Again?
after last week. After last week, I think I'm still not sure if I'm going to continue doing this much longer after last week.
Just to give you some behind the scenes talk here to our viewer. Over the last 6 months, I've had to talk Dan off the ledge at least 2 or 3 times. So
that's all.
I mean, like after last week, I'm like, yeah, no, I'm not doing this anymore.
Last week worked out well though.
I guess so. Maybe it'll be the Jamil and Marty show then, Talia. Jamil and Marty can have a show together.
Oh yeah, because that'll work. That'll last.
Oh, okay. So we've got some stuff to talk about this week, right? Marty, you got some Comic-Con stuff.
It's only the first day, so nothing huge, but a few things dropped today.
Okay, so maybe if we have some time, we'll talk some Comic-Con. Let's talk about this Robin Williams Come Inside My Mind documentary. HBO has been putting out some documentaries. They did the Andre the Giant one. I wish we had Jamil on for that one. That would have been good to have him on for that Andre the Giant one. So I know Jamil's. Did you catch that one eventually? That HBO documentary?
Yeah, I did. I called it right after you guys didn't invite me on. I watched it. Yeah.
Great. Stab us a little bit more.
Did you catch the other one they did too? The Gary Shandling one. It was like a 4 or 5 part series.
No.
Oh yeah, that was really good. That was excellent.
Yeah, Judd Apatow directed that one.
Oh, I had no idea. I have to check it out. Because one of my favorite parts of this Robin Williams documentary was there's a little bit by Gary Shandling in there because they showed the other comedians of his era, and they had like this little bit by Gary Shandling. And I think it had me cracking up probably more than many of the things that Robin Williams. It's weird because I never thought of myself as a big Robin Williams fan. I never really, said, oh, I love Robin Williams. But watching this documentary, I realized like how many movies of his that I must have watched growing up. And it's like, I probably shouldn't have. It's just, and I was like, I guess he was part of my childhood. I still can't say that, he was a big part of my. I just like other comedians more, especially in the 80s. I grew up in my household. Probably again shouldn't have. It was George Carlin. It was Eddie Murphy. It really wasn't like I didn't really get into Robin Williams stand-up stuff. I knew him.
He stopped so early. He stopped so early. Like what I'm saying, he started late and he stopped early. It seemed like his stand-up time was from about like 75. He did a TV show. He did a couple of years after Mork and Mindy. Then he just kind of stopped. Like that's what it feels like. Maybe 6 years. You know what I'm saying?
And then he did a comeback. I mean,
he did a couple of HBO specials in the late 90s, early 2000s. I thought that were actually some of the first times I actually saw him do stand-up because growing up, we only really knew him as the movie star, really. So to see him, and we see him a little bit on the what was it?
Comic Relief.
Comic Relief. You saw him do stuff like that, but that was more skit-based stuff and shit like that. So the last 2 HBO specials I thought he did were actually pretty funny. What? Kind of edgy, not like crazy edgy, not like you said like a Pryor or a Carlin, but not safe, kind of shit that you would have thought he might have done.
It seemed like just very cocaine fueled. Like, it seems like very just like I'm just gonna say a bunch of things really fast. And maybe one of these jokes out of 1,000 stick, and that's what they'll remember because I'm saying things super fast. I never really got into that type of humor.
Well, that was a large part of the documentary. You can see him in different parts of his life, different things they show. They go, okay, that's when he was on something that's when he was. And you can tell in different things when he really enjoyed doing some things, and others times they show him, you can tell he's just doing this because he has to or for whatever. You see, like they did the Mork and Mindy story. I thought was hilarious, in that just the fact that he got famous off that, and just the idea of that Happy Days needed some kind of kick or something, so they just put an alien onto the show. To think that just the stupidest fucking thing you can possibly think of, and somehow it worked, and it kind of kicked his whole career off. But you could tell in some of the behind the scenes shots that they were showing, like in the blooper reel show, you could tell like he just did not like being there really, and you could tell in some of the later stuff they showed right before he died. He did a Fox show, I believe, with Buffy. What was her name?
Yeah.
Michelle Gellar.
Yeah, and you could kind of tell it seemed like it might have been a point in his life where he needed the money again or something. You could tell that when they showed him, he just did look like he enjoyed it. Yeah. It was some kind of lawyer show or something like that. And even when people were talking about him during the time, they were talking about, that sitcom he was doing. They didn't even mention what he was doing. Like, you can tell they didn't, he was doing it for whatever, I know he had a lot of divorces and stuff like that. So I think I'd read a lot when he died about how he was not that well off, with money. So he had to keep working, doing stuff like that. And you could actually, as you look at his filmography, you see he did a lot of weird things that you didn't even know about, really. Some, in movies that never really weren't big, but so you could see he was working up until he died, really.
Yeah. Jamil, you weren't a huge fan of Robin Williams, were you?
Oh no, I love Robin Williams growing up. I mean, like, it's that thing where like I didn't realize how much I love Robin Williams till I seen this, because we were roughly around the same age, so like it's that weird thing when he's just a staple. Like, you know what I'm saying? We didn't see the rise and the fall. Like he's just always been there. But then you go look what's interesting to me is what you realize is you like his comedy, you like his dramatic movies way more than you like his comedies. Like
Photo.
Yeah. You're like, oh, that's right. Good Will Hunting touched me in a place that Flubber never could.
A Flubber touching you. There you go.
Well, I think he was naturally funny. Like when you just saw him talking to like the soldiers and just talking on the award shows, he was naturally a funny, just crazy person. But and that's true of a lot of stand-up comics. When they try to do it in a movie, it just doesn't come off the same way. You can look at a guy like Chris Rock.
Although his comedies,
his
comedies are great.
I mean, but like him and Billy Crystal, like the famous duo. They did all the comedy stuff, but the one movie they did together was horrible. It was called Father's Day. It was just the stupidest thing I've ever seen. So it's like he was a lot. It was odd that he was much more talented in his serious work, and I guess that's part of his, the sadness of him. You see sometimes where he just wasn't taken as seriously. They showed that award show from the Critics' Choice Award, something like that. Mm-hmm. It was him, Jack Nicholson, and Lewis for award, and it was a two. They gave it. It was a tie with 3, and you could tell he's half joking about how fun, how crazy it was, but you could tell it was probably dug in him a little bit. That's like, all right, this 3-man award, and I'm the only one you don't respect. It's like, and it was, it wasn't an Oscar, it was a stupid Critics' Choice Award. They could have just said, all right, give it to all of them, but they singled him out for not winning. It was that was a funny moment in his life, but it also could tell like where Nicholson is kind of treating him as the jester of the day. It's like, you can tell that probably dug in him at times as well.
I love Jack Nicholson because he said something that you couldn't say now. He's like, well, all he could think about was smacking whatchamacallit on the ass, spanking whatchamacallit on the ass. I'm like, whoa.
I know. I said to my,
I
was watching with my wife. I was like, you're not going to say that nowadays. This did not age well.
No, Jack doesn't say a whole lot anymore. You don't hear much from Jack these days.
But it's weird, right? Like the environment has changed so much. I've always been one of those people where I don't blink at shit like that because I'm like, oh, like I hate those people. Oh, well, that didn't age well. Like, no, because I understand context. But even that took me back a little bit. You know what I'm saying? Like whoa, like he said that on TV.
Yeah, and everyone laughed too.
Yeah. They all drunk, but you just look at it and you just like his stand up is funny, but like you said, like it's like every 3 jokes. But his mind was really quick, and it's kind of sad to see that eventually would turn like his mind turned against him. Like it's some type of like really tragic irony there. Mm-hmm. that happened, and it's just I don't know. Like I would say this about this documentary because I know a lot about Robin Williams and stand up and stuff. It feels a lot like the Spielberg documentary where it's like 2 hours long. It's really in depth, but it really doesn't say nothing we already didn't know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like Robin Williams was a notorious joke thief, and they never bring that up. I was just like, so like it's more of a fluff piece in a way than it is like a really like look at the man that he was like in some aspects.
Even his marriages and his divorces, like kind of painted him in a a nicer light. Like it was just really weird. I mean, the only thing that was really surprising to me was the extent of his sickness at the end. Like I just didn't realize how sick he was towards the end.
Well, it was a thing too where I think he was misdiagnosed. Not so much even misdiagnosed. It might have been just something they couldn't tell until after he died, where they thought it was Parkinson's disease, but it really was a dementia thing.
Yeah.
And so no one even knew about the Parkinson's disease other than people around him.
Right.
So when that came out, people were like, oh, well, I guess that's a reason. Maybe he could have fought it harder. But then when you hear the dementia thing, I think it came out maybe much after his death. And you think that he just, probably wasn't there when it happened or just couldn't figure out what was happening. So he just, rather than dissolve, and, dementia is not a thing that's not curable really. So you're not, do you just take the easy way out instead of having, Parkinson has gone a couple different ways. Michael J. Fox is still somewhat, he can still come out there and be somewhat of himself. Yeah. But then there was the Muhammad Ali route where for the last 20 years, he just was there shaking. You couldn't really talk or anything. So do you want to live out your life in a whole different way, or do you just want to go out?
Well, when you're Muhammad Ali, it doesn't fucking matter. Like honestly, when you're the greatest boxer of all time, it doesn't matter if your last 20 years are spent that way because you're still the greatest boxer of all time.
Yeah, but he could have been a lot. He could have been a much bigger figure as far as just the way his effect on social society is like that. But I mean, like I said, dementia, it'll take away your life, and you have no control. So maybe that was just the last thing he could control, and that's how he went out.
And I think that was the more surprising thing because again, the narrative after he killed himself was the dark side of being a comedian and how someone so funny could be so depressed on the other side. And it's just like you didn't see that in the documentary. You saw him,
Well, that's the funny thing about documentaries and knowing what happened. They show videos of him back in the day, and they just show videos of him looking away or looking something. They go, "Oh, he's depressed," but it's like he just could have been looking that way that day. So it's like when you look back on these things,
right? Well, I'll look away and I'll be like,
And then 20 years from now, it's like, oh, Dan, you can tell Dan that day Dan was depressed that day.
Did I lock my car?
It was funny in the documentary. It would always show him being funny, and then he'd stop and look, and you could tell he had he almost had an on and off switch.
Yeah.
And when he was off, was he as comfortable with the people around him? And that was an interesting thing. It kind of showed that he really wasn't. When he wasn't on, he didn't know how to act. Or like you mentioned, his divorces, his kids, he was kind of in and out of their lives. So when he wasn't on stage or on a movie, he maybe didn't know how to act in society. It was interesting stuff with the family. They showed he had two brothers by different fathers. So he had these two brothers, but he never lived with them. So everything was kind of detached relationship in his personal life, it seemed.
His mom was funny. That was like oh wow, she was a character. Like you can see where he got his sense of humor from.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like I said, I don't know. I wish it just would have reached deeper. Like it just, usually when someone that older, when someone older like that dies, there's usually like a lot of archival footage of them talking about their life. He didn't have a lot, like a lot of these people do. So like it just adds to like how guarded he was. That there's not so many there's a few, but there's not a lot of like sound bits about him talking about his life. So you have to talk to other people, but those other people are also famous, so like they kind of guard it. Like there's really no rawness to it.
Right.
Marty mentioned the Gary Shandling one. Like that's a lot more in depth. That's a lot more raw, and like you just didn't really get that with this one. But it was enjoyable. It was a nice little trip down his career.
I think that was the best part about it, right? Again, it highlighted some of his highs of movies and made you say, it's like, oh, maybe I want to check that movie out again. It's been a while since I've seen that. And it also brought, like, some movies, like, I've never even heard about that before. I'm kind of interested in seeing that. I thought, I liked when they were talking about the 1 hour photo stuff. I think that was an interesting part of his career when he did that role. It was very unexpected. And everyone's always like, oh, when does the comedian become the serious actor? I mean, like, Steve Carell's going through pretty much a career, like, 360 or 180 or 180, because, I mean, at this point, he doesn't really do comedies anymore, right? Steve Carell is now pretty much a serious actor. He's got this another movie that he's working on, right? That's coming out that getting Oscar buzz or some shit like that. And those last few have been those type of roles. I don't think it stuck for Robin Williams, right? He did 1 hour photo, and it's like, oh wow, he can act, and blah blah blah, and then it's just like, now what?
Well, no, DC, but that's not true though. Like the beauty of Robin Williams and why I love Robin Williams was he went in and out.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you know what I'm saying? Like he'll do a Good Will Hunting,
mm-hmm.
but then he'll do Flubber. I don't know why I keep going back to Flubber, but like,
say Flubber.
Yeah, that's probably what it is. But like, like it would in and out. Like he'll do Real Greatest Dad, which is like kind of serious. The movie with Bobcat Goldthwait, which is a really good movie, by the way. But then he'll go do something like whatever that movie was with Bernie Mac, like Dogs, something. Like just
Old Dogs.
Old Dogs, yeah. It's just like he went back and forth, like constantly. Like
I said, it seemed like it was a thing where he just took whatever was offered a lot of the time because he needed to for one reason or another. And again, there were some great things in there. I think he was Night Museum. He was pretty good in at least 2 of them, I would say, playing the Teddy Roosevelt character. And he would always do kind of voice work because that was probably easy money for him. And like I said, that was interesting too. The relationship with Bobcat, I never knew about. So the fact that they were close was interesting. And the other thing I didn't, he was close with Belushi, and the story about him meeting him the night before he died. Yeah.
I never knew that. That was new to me. That was completely new to me. That was crazy that he was there that night.
And I mean, like I said, he come up in the 80s, and the 80s was, of course, cocaine everywhere and everything. And the idea that didn't change him in any way really was interesting. And that, you think that could have been me moment. Maybe he gets clean, and he wasn't a huge junkie, but he was always kind of on and off drugs, it seemed. And
it seemed that alcohol was a bigger thing for him, though.
Yeah.
He always seemed like he was a little bit always sauced, right? Like,
yeah.
Like, the famous, like, Danny DeVito on drinking limoncello, where he's just, like, kind of bombed. Like, every time you kind of saw Robin Williams for a certain period of time, you'd be like, in interviews, you can see he's kind of just, like, doing that kind of, like, wobble type thing. And he was like, all right, he's probably got a few in him. But that was fascinating. He's like, he'd come downstairs and he'd order a tequila and an espresso. Sounds quite good right now. I'll take 1 tequila, 1 espresso. I don't know who the fuck I'm talking to. I'm not. If someone magically comes down with a tequila and an espresso, guys,
I'm coming over.
That's it.
It was funny. It's a 2-hour documentary, so it covers a lot, but it doesn't cover a lot of major moments from it. There was no. I don't remember. Birdcage, I didn't see anything on, or not a whole.
He won an Oscar, for Christ's sakes, and there's no talk about it. There's no talk about him.
They didn't even show the Oscar, award show or ceremony. There was no Birdcage, no Jumanji, no Aladdin. Aladdin was one of his famous things.
There was a little bit of Aladdin. Very little.
Mrs. Doubtfire, not much on that.
Yeah, very little Mrs. Doubtfire, because they was Sally Fields, right?
That was his prime kind of, that was his major time there, early 90s. Yeah. And again, nothing from Ben Affleck or Matt Damon on why they chose him for that or working with them.
I mean, you know why they chose him? He's Robin Williams. Like, guys, come on, man. He's a major. Like, look, I understand what you guys saying, but like, it's Robin Williams. It's like one of the biggest stars in the world. Like, that's why they chose him.
No, but I just said it would have been nice to have them talk on it somewhat. Yeah. It was very limited scope as far as who they interviewed. It seemed, 1 wife, 1 kid.
Lots of Billy Crystal.
Yeah, Billy Crystal, of course, which is you want because he's an important part. Not so much Whoopi Goldberg for some reason. I mean, they were really close. I thought.
Yeah, they were. Look,
Not a lot of co-stars.
to me, like one of my main memories of Robin Williams are those like comedy age specials. Like we used to have them on VHS, and I'd be 8 years old watching those, had no business watching them, just watching them over and over again. And you could see his talent then. Because like he's on stage and it's just off the cuff and he's just fast and quick and they have to keep up with him. You know what I'm saying? Like I remember one I seen, it was like him and Don Rickles, and it was like fucking hilarious. And it's just, and he smacks him like it's great. I wish I could find those now. You really can't find them now.
Yeah, it seems weird. It's not that it felt like a rush job. It just felt like they were just okay. Let's find a whole bunch of footage of
it's more about the footage
and have the footage tell the story, be most of the documentary, because that's what it was. It was just a lot of just footage that was kind of strung together with a couple interviews kind of interspersed in there. And I guess that's why it's titled "Come Inside My Mind," right? They wanted less about what people thought of him and more kind of like what it was to be like in his head.
Yeah, I mean that's a good point too. Like, I'm sure there's 1,000 other other interviews where we see all those people talking about him, but it just would have been nice, I guess, in this one package to do it. But "Come Inside My Mind" being the title and the fact that his voiceover is always in the background, which I'm not sure where they got that from even, but it was interesting to hear him talking that way. It makes sense for what they were doing, I suppose. The woman who did this is Marina Zenovich, I want to say pronounce her name. And she's also done documentaries on Richard Pryor and Roman Polanski and other people. So I guess this is kind of her field. So.
I wonder if the style is very similar.
Yeah, I'd have to go back and look at those. Yeah. She did a 30 for 30 too.
Talia says, and I can agree with this because I've heard this. The interview he does with Mark Maron is a lot more revealing than this documentary is. Yeah, so like, if you wanna like get a real peek inside his mind, you probably that's really a good interview to see to listen to.
Well,
but yeah,
we never had him on the show.
Yeah, we would have got him in. We would have got to him.
I will say this as a child of the '90s, I love Hook, and I don't give a damn what anybody says.
Good movie.
Hook is good,
and I love him in Hook. Like
the one shot though they show of Popeye, I was like, wow, that was awful.
I love Popeye.
Popeye's great.
I'm sure we did, but I think I haven't seen it again in 20 years.
It's good now because it's absurd. It's absurd. It's so bad that it's good, like in a weird way. Because like he's clearly on cocaine, and like is this really why is this Popeye movie so fucking dramatic? Like it's really weird. Like it's sad and melancholy for no fucking reason. Like I said, he's high. Why is this movie? Why did Robert Altman decide to do this movie? Like it's so many questions you ask while you watching that movie. Like he took Popeye really, really seriously.
You want to see a good rendition of Popeye? Watch The Master.
Ah, yes.
Yes, it is essentially a rendition of Popeye. Trust me.
Well, actually, I was thinking a lot about
Thomas Anderson's The Master is just pretty much like a remake of Popeye.
You talking about the one about L. Ron Hubbard, basically?
Yeah.
I'll let you bring that up because I kind of think of Seymour Hoffman and Rob Williams in almost the same way as far as.
And they were in Patch Adams together. They showed the little clip, and I was like, oh my god, there's Philip Seymour Hoffman right there. Yeah, tragic.
Two actors who can do serious and comedy really well, and lost weight not around the same time, but within a couple of years of each other, and it was just. I remember just being really sad when Williams died. I mean, it was just like, oh shit. It was just, and I got sad at points watching this one too, where you start talking about hearing his son talk, or just his last words they were playing. It's like, this is just fucking awful.
Yeah, I guess that's the sad part of this, right? Is because he was a part of our childhood. Like his movies were a part of our childhood. And when I
And
mean,
life. Yeah.
yeah. So I mean, it's gonna keep happening, right? I mean, we're
No.
seeing in the last few years, like like the people that we kind of grew up
And
with.
the weird thing is, he's 63 when he died. And even if he just died of, say, a heart attack or something, you'd be like, all right, that's, maybe, he did coke in the
63 is kind of
80s. It
young.
would have been kind of. But the fact that he
63 is
killed
kind of young.
himself, yeah. But not, 63 for a guy in the 80s who was doing coke and drinking all the time, you're like, all right, well, it just kind of happened. But to hear that, he hung himself by his door, by the belt and stuff, just as depressing. Yeah, it's the only way to say it, really. And like I said, we've seen a couple of people kill themselves that way lately, and either with pills or something like that. It's just
Like how awesome is it for his son that his godfather was Superman and his dad was Robin Williams?
that too. That was a weird one.
That I knew about. I knew about like after Christopher Reeves got injured, Robin Williams was like the first person to visit him in the hospital and make him laugh. I didn't know about that. But it's just a weird combination, right? To see like big, tall, handsome Christopher Reeves who's like 6'5", and like little short Robin looking Robin Williams next to him, and they just like the best of friends. Like it's just, but yeah, it was cool. It was really cool to see like they was that close. Look. We asking why, he was so good as a dramatic actor. Shit, he trained as one.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's the thing, right? Most comedians don't train as dramatic actors. He's professionally trained as an actor.
Mm-hmm.
That's why he was always so good. That's why the curve for me from being a comedian to a dramatic actor was always so easy. You know what I'm saying? He trained as one.
I love the stuff with Steve Martin too. When they were doing the play together. Was it Waiting for Godot they did? Or
yeah. I got to track that down. I have to track that down.
That looked really amazing.
But that was interesting too, in that they showed some press interviews, and it looked like Williams was kind of pissed that people didn't, again, he wasn't being taken seriously in what he was doing, and even there seemed to be a little bit of conflict between him and Steve Martin at times, as far as what they wanted to do improvisationally or stick to the script kind of stuff.
And you see a press conference and he look all greasy and shit.
Yeah.
So I'm saying you can tell when he was on the sauce. Like you could always tell when he was kind of on something, and you look at those. Yeah, you look at some interviews and it's like, okay, he's clean, he's good.
Yeah.
Some stuff with Letterman, you see him and it's like, okay, he's actually kind of calmed down and cleaned up, and then just other times just like, ooh,
like he's just sweating for no reason. Yeah.
Listen, I know people that just sweat for no reason, but
and with him, like with me, because I'm really bad at sensing these things. I can never tell because he's always like that. He's always like that. How can you tell when he's drunk or high when he's constantly like that?
It's kind of like the '86 Mets. I mean,
I don't know shit about baseball. I'll take your word for it.
They were high, but they got the job done. So.
Well, it's one of those things. They're on amphetamines. So whenever they went to extra innings, you could tell it's like, oh, they're not going to win this game. The speed's going to just drop right off. They're going to crash. All right, let's do some final thoughts, and then we're going to talk some Comic-Con stuff. Final thoughts overall.
Yeah, it's really definitely worth watching. I mean, it's on HBO, and they're also HBO's doing some fun stuff for after they show it. They've been showing some of his movies. I watched Good Morning Vietnam the other day, and Good Will Hunting's always on some channel or another.
The guy who it's based off of just passed away today.
Is that right?
Yeah, he did.
And you can tell in the movie, Good Morning Vietnam is a kind of a interesting focus on his career, where it's like when he looks like the parts of the movie where he's just kind of fucking around and being himself and talking, it's really interesting. But there's this weird subplot to the whole movie that just doesn't make sense. And a lot of his movies are like that, where it's just parts are funny, and he gets serious, like, oh, this is a fucking weird plot twist. That movie where he ran for president was almost the same way. It's like, it looked like he was playing himself for a while, and it was just a fun movie, and then it's like they throw in this weird plot about voting fraud or something. It's like, right, this is the movie you should have made. So, and that just kind of some of his career was like where he was himself and being funny. It was great, and then times where he tried to try too hard, I guess it just didn't work for him. But big fan of his movies and stuff. Like we mentioned a lot of them, and it's definitely worth watching.
Jamil?
I'm gonna miss him. I think like the movie world is poor for not having him. And apparently, I found this out afterwards because I was doing some research. Apparently, he played Call of Duty with Tom Hanks like almost every night. And apparently, on 1 Hour Photo, because there's like a little boy in there, and like there's a scene where they talk about Gundams. He actually knew about Gundams, like and model kits. Like that's how cool Robin Williams was. That's all. Just
He's a big kid. He's a big kid.
Exactly.
Yeah. All right. Cool. Marty, what do we got so far from Comic-Con? It just kicked off. Today was day one? Right?
Yeah, day one was today. You mentioned there was a Better Call Saul trailer that came out, if you want to talk about that. And then one of the bigger things that I saw was the Star Wars event that Star Wars had a big panel. And they announced that Clone Wars is coming back for one season because Clone Wars was a cartoon before the last one. Clone Wars actually was a cartoon before we thought we were going to get more movies or anything. So it was actually on Comedy Central, Cartoon Network, and it got canceled before it got canceled, and it wasn't really finished. So they're going to give it a 12-episode run on the new Disney streaming thing in 2019, and everybody was excited about that. There was some new stuff on the Predator movie coming out. You know, they showed some footage about that, which I mean, that you can do what you want with that movie. As far as stuff that's going to come up, they were talking about we're finally going to see an Aquaman trailer sometime this weekend.
Okay, so it's really going to happen. It's really going to happen.
Oh, did you see the poster that came out this week?
No.
Oh God, so bad. It's just like him in the water with like a bunch of fucking. It looked like a Disney. It looked like Finding Nemo or something. Actually, it's just like all these sharks behind him and all these different kind of fish, and it's just fucking filthy.
They also showed Teen Titans trailer.
Yeah, Teen Titans. Yeah.
Woof, that shit was terrible.
Yeah, that's TV and cartoon stuff. It seemed.
Oh boy, that live action Teen Titans TV show was terrible. Like they got Rob. Look, literally, they got Robin killing people in the trailer and talk about Batman. I'm like, well, here we go again. I guess they just ain't gonna learn their lesson.
I think Robin cursed in the trailer.
Yeah. He says Batman, and he shoots a bunch of dudes.
I
got the poster up, by the way.
There it is.
If you see it, yeah.
Yeah, only part of it's fake. A lot of it's like that.
I'll put the real one up.
I mean, the real one's just shit in the background. There's the Nemo stuff around it, but the shit in the background is stupid.
Yeah, I'll put the real one up.
But other DC news, they announced I don't know where it's going to fit in anything. There's
the real one. It'll take a second to buffer, but yeah that's the real one.
The new Batman movie starring Joaquin Phoenix just going to be called The Joker.
Why? Just why? Like,
I'm sure it'll be good. I mean, he's good as long as it's not fucking.
The Joker doesn't need an origin story. That's the whole appeal of the Joker. He doesn't need. You don't need to humanize the Joker. That's the last thing you really want. Like that. It's the one character you don't need. Like, I don't care where he comes from. That's like
That's true.
They just missed the point. They just missed the point altogether. Why are not movies doing good? I wonder why.
So Tali's asking about the trailer for the new Queen movie, the Bohemian Rhapsody one.
I'm actually getting excited about that.
It looks good. And she asked if I still feel the same way about it because when we saw the first trailer, I said it kind of looked cheap. A lot of it looked kind of like cheap. Maybe it was just an unfinished trailer, and they just didn't take the time to finalize some stuff because it is the new footage and the clips I'm seeing look better. So no, listen.
My only worry about this movie, and this is gonna be a fucked up worry because I know some Queen fans don't feel this way. It seems like it focuses a lot on the other members of Queen. I don't give a fuck about the other members of Queen. I'm sorry, that's the truth. Like, what the fuck? Like, what you want me to say? Like, nobody cares about the other members of Queen except for the members of Queen. Did you ever hear that story about how the story told about how like originally the original movie they was gonna have Freddie Mercury die like halfway through the movie, and the rest of the movie is about them trying to go on without Freddie? Who the fuck wants to see that? Nobody cares about the motherfuckers. Nobody.
Yes, like I said, originally Sacha Baron Cohen was attached to this for a couple of years. Yeah. And I think the family wasn't agreeing to his vision, or maybe the rest of the band, like you said. But I think this kid looks like he's nailing it so far. The iRobot kid. Yeah.
Sasha Baron would have been great. Their excuse was because I've been following this a little bit. Said, well, he's a funny man, so how possibly this is the members of Queen again saying he's a funny man, so how could he possibly do something dramatic? Well, like we just spent the last 45 minutes talking about a comedian doing dramatic stuff, but like I'm just worried this is going to be too much about the motherfuckers. That's what I'm worried about.
Yeah, that one, we're starting to see the trailers for, what's coming out Oscar season wise. So I'm starting to get excited about that. The movie with Margot Robbie and Shona, whatever her name was, Shauna something. The girl from Brooklyn and that fucking thing. Sasha Ronan. That movie looks really good. We're like rival queens. In back, between Scotland and England, looks really exciting. Like I said, and then we'll get the kind of stupid Aquaman and Predator movies we're going to see in fall and December. So I mean, I don't think there's anything huge Comic-Con wise we're waiting on. I don't know what Marvel's going to do if they drop a Captain Marvel.
They're gonna, I guess maybe Captain Marvel.
No,
Marvel's not even there. They don't need Comic-Con. They have their own convention. Plus, when you're the biggest, Go ahead. Sorry.
Is there a Disney one this year? I thought they do it like every 2 years.
No. They don't need it. They don't look. They could drop a press conference the week after Comic-Con, and they'll just control the news cycle forever because they don't need that buzz from Comic-Con. Warner Brothers still need it because they're in the doghouse. But when all your movies make $800 million or better.
It seems like they always say, "Oh, we're not going," but then they'll pop in somehow and drop a trailer somewhere just to kind of steal the thunder from somewhere. Remember last year, Justice League trailer dropped, and then the day later, it's like, "Oh, yeah, we're gonna drop our Infinity War trailer." Oh, fuck. So I think that we got to see Miss Marvel or Captain Marvel, trailer at some point because I don't think a lot of people know even who that is because I barely know who that is. So.
Don't worry, Marvel barely know who that is either. So like we already seen that. Look, this is Captain Marvel. They're like, we need a Wonder Woman surrogate. We have none. Let's create one. That's what Captain Marvel is. Basically. Look, Fox have all our good female superheroes. We gotta create one.
I think also that deal's getting close to done. I think I saw Comcast bowed out finally for their bid. So you got to figure by 2020 we'll start seeing X-Men Marvel crossover shit.
Couple more years. Yeah, I saw the trailer for Better Call Saul. I don't know. I know Marty, you said you don't watch it. This is the season that really kind of crosses over into the Breaking Bad era, if you will, and they've already started talking about season 5 having some, possibly some cameos by Bryan Cranston and Aaron Paul to, tie things together.
How's that gonna work?
What's up, Jamel?
I said, how's that gonna work?
I mean, they're gonna have to just de-age them a bit, and it's gonna be very limited, because it's just gonna lead into how Saul got involved with them, because this is, But I'm interested to see how it goes. I mean, because a lot of this is, no spoilers here. The first, kind of episode shows you that it's Saul after the events of Breaking Bad, and then the whole series is now a kind of retrospective on his life as he's existing in the future in hiding after the events of Breaking Bad. So I'm fascinated to see how that ties into everything. And just, Breaking Bad was 6 seasons, and Better Call Saul is now hitting 4. So I don't know how many more seasons it's going to have left. And part of me that excites me about that, right? I don't want to get to the point where I'm not interested in the character or interested in what they're putting out anymore. And I think, hitting that 6-7 season mark might be that sweet spot, maybe. It was 6 seasons was too long for Lost even. So
That always the best TV shows. This has been true now for a while. When you start a show, if you have a beginning and an end in mind as you start it, those are the best ones. We've seen too many shows now where it's just going on for viewers' sake and just kind of making it up as they go. That was a problem with Lost. I'm hoping it's not. Doesn't seem like it's a problem with Game of Thrones yet. And I'm trying to look up to see if HBO was at Comic-Con. So I was just thinking maybe we get something on that.
No, we got the new George R. R. Martin show.
Yeah.
Look at Walking Dead. Walking Dead is clearly like
oh yeah, that thing
3 seasons too long.
Yeah.
Like Walking Dead. I loved it, even though I don't think it was a particularly great show most of the time. I loved it, but even now it's just like, oh, this is way past its expiration date. Like now Andrew Lincoln is leaving and Laura Corrin. Like once that started happening. Like I wish networks would be like, okay, time to, because like they have a replacement show. Like you could end Walking Dead, go with Fear the Walking Dead, and start another Walking Dead Miami, and you'll be okay.
Oh, with David Caruso.
Yes, with David Caruso.
Oh, that'd be fantastic.
Who probably looks like a shambling corpse now any damn way.
Probably is, yeah.
Yeah.
So.
Fucking ginger.
All right, that's it. Let's close out another episode of the Movie Stuff Show. Here's my prop for the week, if anyone's interested.
Wow, what the fuck is that?
Strawberry Swiggles.
That looks like what Robin Williams was doing after he had the cocaine.
That's how you eat them. You gotta cut open the leprechaun's stomach to eat the yumminess inside of him.
Do you pour the milk into the box?
No. It's from Rick and Morty, if you wonder.
I've yet to see that show.
Huh?
I have yet to see that show.
It's good.
I'll watch it one day.
It's good. Yeah. I think a lot of the fans of the show kind of ruin it at times for me, but it's a good show.
That's true. That's true of everything now.
That's a good point.
Hey, look. I would love LeBron James if it wasn't for his fans. If I did one more to say he's the greatest Laker ever already, I'm going to punch him in their face. Okay, I'm done.
I'm loving all the graffiti getting like tagged up on his face out there. It's pretty funny.
Hey, he already a better Laker than Kobe. Shut up.
Dan hates the Lakers already. He'll even say that.
Yeah. Listen, this is another topic for another day. LeBron going to the Lakers, to me, was like the best news and the worst news for me, because he's out of the East. He's out. The Celtics have a nice little path to the finals, but then it's just like, god damn, if he starts getting actually good people around him, if Durant jumps off of Golden State next year and goes to the Lakers, if they become the super team, then it's like they're going to beat us to a championship. So
look, this is how I see it. Like he just want to get beat by the Warriors earlier. That's all. That's pretty much it. Because they signed Boogie Cousins. They ain't stopping. When he come back healthy, if everything goes well, he just gonna get beat sooner.
Hey, listen, man, you're Atlanta Hawks. They got Carmelo Anthony now.
Carmelo.
No, they don't. He might go to the Lakers. Carmelo, you saying? Yeah, that's.
He might. Who knows?
Okay.
Anyway, all right. Now that we've alienated our fans, let's go
Sports Slick.
Episode of the Movie Stuff Show. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter at Movie Stuff Show. Please like this video, subscribe to us. Marty might have some videos up somewhere. Have a great night. Jamil, try to get a power nap if you can. Before you go to work, try to get a little power nap. And,
yeah, I'm gonna try.
Or just tequila and espresso.
Yeah, tequila and espresso, yep.
And just to hit a coke, just a bump of coke, make it.
Don't give away all your secrets, Jamil.
Yeah.
Good night, guys. Bye.
See.
Bye, everybody.